cover everything to do with nanotechnology. It's going to be impossible to cover everything to do with nanotechnology. Yeah, there was a good variety of different articles. The only article that I'm really not sure about is the final one about molecular manufacturing. With that is all very much in the future. I mean, the Foresight Institute and the Institute for Molecular Manufacturing have been around for a number of years, and this is their hypothesis that at some point in the future we will be able to truly design everything bottom up. And I've no doubt that we will be able to do that at some point in the future. I'm just not convinced that it will be soon. And providing images such as whatever that machine was on top of a red blood cell just hark back to how nanotechnology was first portrayed in terms of, you know, fiction like prey. For everything else, I mean, I've made some specific comments on some of the articles, but overall, like I say, it covers a wide variety of topics. It seems to have a good balance of people that are specialists in the area, as well as editors and journalists at The Guardian.
Mark, let me check that I understood. You think it's a good balance? The only problem you have is with the last piece.
Well, I would not have chosen that as a piece to go in, just because, or I would be quite clear about it being something in the future, because it doesn't sit very well with the other articles, and that the other articles are talking about nanotechnology applications here and now. This is very much looking at nanotechnology applications at some point in the future. Now, whether that's 10 or 20 years away or further, nobody really knows, because all we can do at the moment is very limited directed manufacturing bottom up. We can do a lot of self-assembly, so we're looking at nature as an example, but in terms of taking atoms one by one and adding them in the way that molecular manufacturing talks about, it's very limited. So we can do that for things like dip pen nanolithography, where we're using basically atomically sharp elements to deposit biomolecules or whatever else onto the surface of a material. But these are very small structures that we're talking about, whereas this is talking about designing individual components and then putting the components together to provide atomically precise devices. So that's my only consideration. I mean, I said that in some of my comments, that I wouldn't have chosen, for example, a picture like that to go along with that article. But if it's clearly stated that this is something for the future, not something that is going to happen in the very near future, then that would be okay. Hello?
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Just
click on the microphone to finish the...
All right, okay, so
Louisa, Nira, you want to comment on it?
Sure. I will start, and then maybe Nira can add if she's got more to say. I have to say we spent more than 1 hour yesterday looking through the supplement. Sorry, I didn't check if you could hear me. You can hear me, right? Can you just tick? Yeah, okay, great. So, first of all, I fully agree with Mark's comment. Actually, Nira and I thought the same about the image. I also personally think there is a statement at the very, about halfway in the document that says the ultimate goal of molecular scale nanotechnology is to build nanofactories. And I wouldn't actually agree with that. I don't think molecular nanotechnology has just one goal. unfortunately, we had tried to change the synopsis and give a hint on what to put in this piece, but I think that wasn't really either understood or really taken into account, so it turned out to be what I was afraid it would be. So maybe later on we can go more into details of what to do about this piece, how we can change it, or what suggestions we can provide. So apart from, and of course the image, I agree, the image is really, first of all, it's been overused, and then it's really going back to that science fictionary vision of nanotech that I don't think we need to bring in. I also had an important comment on the first page. I think the first article that Alok wrote is actually, it's not what I would have expected to have in the first page. There is not much explanation on what is nanotechnology in terms of benefits. It just says it's a toolkit, but it doesn't really explain what makes this, from a scientific point of view, but also from the application point of view, why it is so interesting, so special. Why is this toolkit fascinating so many people and getting so much attention in research? I think there is a need in this article also to bring in the concept of public engagement in the debate on nanotechnology, which is totally missing here, but it was actually in the synopsis. So this is something I think should be really taken into consideration. I think Mark's piece later on fully covers the regulation and risks aspects, so I don't see the need to have a long paragraph in here, and I think that will leave some space to bring in the issue of the need for a debate, and the fact that this project is trying to achieve so by using also social media and Facebook, and so I think all of this should be mentioned here. Also a link to the microsite and the fact that there is more articles in there to be read, and so on. The third major comment I have, actually there is one, is the use of a quote, which is used in the first page, and then again other two times. There's everything we see and feel is defined by the nanoscale. For humans to survive, we need to engineer nanomaterials. I think I understand.
Louisa,
yes?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you please talk a little bit slower? It's
Oh,
very
sure.
hard to understand you.
Okay.
If you can repeat the last point, because it was very unclear.
Yeah. I was just saying there is a quote that has been actually placed in 3 places in the supplement, and this is a Gabrielle Etley quote. Actually, Neil and I think this quote is out of context. It kind of makes not really sense, and it becomes a bit an overstatement. So our suggestion would be to actually remove this quote and have something else. This is found in the first page, and then again.
Louisa, do you have any suggestions to change the quote?
Well, we can look through the articles that have appeared in the microsite and see if we can find a better quote from something that has already been said by people that were interviewed, or we should use other quotes that are often referred to in nanotech. Even the famous Feynman's quote, I would think it would be fine.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think the quote should be from the supplement itself.
Because right now it's quoted from page 4.
Now it's quoted from page 4, so I think we have to find some kind of a quote within the supplement.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, then we can try to do that, or we can see it, or, some of the quotes in the supplement come from the articles from the microsite, because this, of course, has been a bit of a cut and paste here and there. So, we could, for instance, the one in first page from Ilse, Ineke Marsh, that was also in one of the articles in the microsite. So we can find a solution, I'm sure. The last comment I have, and then I'll pass to Mira, is the feature in the last page, the bring on the benefits. Here, my understanding was that we had a recommendation from Professor Kakache not to put too much stress on the use of nanomaterials in the construction industry, and also the fact that this research on the paper that can sense earthquake, it's really at a very early stage of research, whereas here they made a whole feature basically about this. So I have a bit of a problem with that. Also, there is a bit of a tendency here to mix applications that are really on the market and visions, or applications that are really still at an early stage of research. So this is something that I think should be addressed. So that's all for the moment. I don't want to take too much time, so I'll pass it maybe to Mira if she wants to add on to that.
Louisa, I have a question about regarding this article. Is it contrary to what is it not similar to what is written in the synopsis that we approved already? The problematic article. Louisa,
Well, yeah, I got it. Well, in this synopsis, though, we did at least in the before the synopsis, the Word document of the synopsis, we provided an Excel, a synopsis that had a whole tables with the references from projects and so on. And maybe Maria can add on into this, but we had recommended that it shouldn't be the stress on construction shouldn't be so much, because from a precautionary principle point of view, it changes a lot if you're using nanomaterials in buildings, or in concrete to build, or if you're using it in different forms of applications. And my understanding was also that Maria had a debate with Professor Kakashi on this, and the advice was not to stress this too much, because in terms of risk management and the application of the precautionary principle, it's fairly different. And this was actually stated in the one of the documents that was together with the synopsis that we provided. Maybe Maria can add and comment on this.
Mira, you were first, so please, if you have a comment about this, please do, and then Maria.
Well, my only comment is that if we want to change the quote, I'm not sure that we're the person who should choose another quote. Choosing the quote is a journalistic, professional issue, and I'm comfortable with saying that this is a quote that is problematic, but I'm not sure that I'm the one, or we're the one, that should find another quote.
I tend to agree with you, but I think saying something is problematic wouldn't be a constructive criticism. I think we have to say why it's problematic, or to offer something else that we think is better.
Well, we did say why it's problematic. It's totally out of context. Everyone who sees it can understand that we don't need nanotechnology to survive. So it's clearly an overdramatic quote as it is right now. I'm sure it was okay in context, but finding another quote, I feel uncomfortable telling the journalist which quote he should choose as his main quote from the whole supplement.
Okay, I tend to accept this suggestion. Maria, would you want to comment about the construction issue and the item before us?
Yes, hello everybody. I had a very long discussion with Professor Kakati yesterday, who was very irritated by the emphasis that this picture on page 3 puts on, as Luisa said, the use of nanomaterials in the construction industry. I didn't even record all his negative remarks because I really could have written pages. So I'll take the opportunity now to say that he did not agree either with the use of this picture, and the emphasis that it's given, which is completely out of context, because the Polytext project is actually only a little paragraph inside the piece. The other things that I wanted to say were they got two things badly wrong regarding the project. One is on page 3, the paragraph that you highlighted in yellow. The word sprayed is actually completely wrong and misleading, and it refers to a project, to a process which is actually dangerous, because spraying things with nanoparticles or nanocapsules is dangerous for workers' health mainly, and which the project has really very carefully tried to avoid. So that word sprayed is out and should be, must be replaced with equipped. I talked to the coordinator, I double-checked this, and this is the way it's going to be. The other mistake, which Alok repeated for a second time in his piece on the front, was when he said that Professor Peschieri had been working with an artificial virus. I had already told him the first time round that there are no viruses whatsoever in this project, and by the way, he doesn't even name it. It should be named. It's Nineveh. There are no viruses. The only thing is that carbon nanotubes have been used by this project as vectors, and if successful, they could replace the need for viruses as carriers in gene therapy. Full stop. The viruses shouldn't even come into the picture, and I'm surprised that he actually mentioned it again, since we had asked him to take it out a few moments ago. So these are the two quite bad mistakes that were made when talking about projects. I agree, regarding the construction industry, that picture should really be changed, and because it puts an undue emphasis on a point that is quite out of place. Luisa, is that? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello? Yeah, absolutely. One of my comments was to change that picture and just take away the emphasis on the whole piece on this sorry, what is it? Sensing. How do we call it? Wallpaper. Because I understand it's something that is probably very fascinating as a journalist, but I don't know, given the impact that such a thing could have on people's lives, to say that this is ready and maybe even on the market, because this is what you could infer from this.
Exactly.
I think it's really bad journalism and just giving really bad information. So I would say change the image and just make very clear that smart windows we have, maybe we have some types, but the sensing wallpaper not yet.
Okay. Any other general comments that we have to address?
before I leave this meeting, I have some general comments, and I want to know if you share the same feelings that I had. Wait 1 second, Maria. One general thing is that the feeling is that this supplement mainly inform the public and not engaging in the debate. It's not controversial enough as we obliged by the DOW. I'm quoting from the task from the DOW. What is it? Okay, the social challenges of nanotechnology, anti-controversy, benefits and risks. So the feeling is it is not motivating people to respond. Not enforcing them for dialogue. We can see it, for example, in the lead, in a alloc item that instead there is sentence over there talking about the politicians to say what I'm sorry, I had the blackout. The lead, for example, in a log space is we're talking billions of matter. It's about manipulating the materials, etc. This is informing. While there is a sentence at the moment, politicians and policymakers don't really have a clue how to regulate it, etc. So this is the politicians to decide. So it's much more. Motivate people to take part or etc. Okay, that's it for now. Sorry. Okay, just a few more issues that just to forgive. There is no problem with the commercial brands that mentioned over there. To mention Mazda, Sharp, Intel, I think these are the commercial brands. We should put a disclaimer in this. They should put a disclaimer in this supplement. And another thing that Forgive will write a paragraph about the project, not only to mention that this supplement was paid by NanoChance, but also to add a paragraph that describes the project. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Maria, you wanted to comment? Maria, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay. The bit that you were just mentioning, Moshe, about the brands, I think it's completely inappropriate to mention Mazda in the same breath as NanoCaps, which finished quite a long while ago and had absolutely nothing to do, to the best of our knowledge, with this car manufacturer. So it's not. It's bad media practice to put the two things in the same paragraph, because by association people might think that Mazda used the NanoCaps innovation, which is not the case. So they need to separate, the two paragraphs, and they need to make absolutely clear that the Mazda development, if they want to quote it, is a completely unrelated development. I mean, it's not good media practice to put two things within the same paragraph that have nothing to do with each other. The other thing that you were just mentioning now, which I see on the screen, is that there is a contrast of oppositions that should have been highlighted between this position quoted by Ineke Malsche. Fortunately there is still time for that because the technology is not ready yet. And what Mark rightly says in this piece, that there is a regulatory grey area. There is quite a debate going on here which has not been tackled in the supplement. There are people saying, so why are we postponing the debate? Because the technology is not ready yet, it's not a good reason to postpone the debate and regulation. And Mark, I think, is tackling this problem very well in his piece. But there are two different positions, and this just doesn't come across. I mean, it comes across to a careful reader reading through, but it doesn't. It's not even, it's not explained. So this is another thing that I wanted to say. The other things are, Mark wrote down quite a few, scientific details, which I've, you can find on the agenda of things. The other important bit is that we solved it with the project officer this morning. They would have wanted to have had more time and more notice to change the Monacat project, which is called quite high up in the environment piece on page 2, because they've had very recent results implying that Monacat has not been a success. So they would have wanted, they consulted this morning and yesterday, they would have wanted to have more time to supply new details, but unfortunately we got the proofs at the end of last week, and they said, okay, it's disappointing, but the things that are quoted are correct, so we're going to leave them as they are, but please next time give us more notice. So I'm just referring this to you.
Okay, thank you. Louisa, you wanted to add something?
Yes, just as a general comment, I forgot to say before. I have to find the page. Unfortunately, I don't know the pages all by heart as you do. There's a piece on the consumer products, which is called From Beer to Bottles. No, From Beer Bottles to Bidets. That's in page 2, which is basically a whole list of products that can be found in this inventory. And I just thought that it's really just a list, but it's not really critical in saying that these products, they just come from an inventory that nobody is actually checking, and also not all of these products are available in the European Union. This is a global inventory of products all around the world. So I think this should be stated in here somewhere.
If I may ask, Louisa, why is it a problem to mention products that are not in the European Union? Why can't consumer want and look for products they don't have in their country?
Well, it's not it's not of course they can buy them maybe online or whatever. It's just that when I read this, it looks like when I go to the supermarket, or in any shop, there are hundreds of products on the shelves, and in Italy or in Germany or everywhere else. And this is actually not really true. What I was trying to say is just to make clear here that it's an inventory that is referring to products everywhere in the world, which doesn't necessarily mean that you will be able to find those in your own country. I don't know if that answers your question. It's just, it looks like your doorknob, the fridge you're using, everything you have, your toothpaste, everything is made of nanomaterials.
Thank you. I think I got your comment. Maria, please.
Hello. I noticed that, yes, it read like a shopping list to me as well. I don't think there is any critical word about the problems regarding, the embedding of nanoparticles or the linting of, possible linting of antibacterial salts, or any word about recycling. I know, it's a very small piece. Perhaps it could have been made a bit more critical.
Okay, thank you everybody. Anything in general that we need to address? Please take a look again at all your comments if there's something we had to discuss between ourselves.
Yes, I would like to say in general, as we requested last time, that it would have been nice if we could get some sources when they send us articles. And in this supplement there were quite a few projects that they talked about, and Louisa and I weren't familiar with them and couldn't find critical information to understand if even it's correct or incorrect.
Mira, you are referring to the editorial board, not to the general public, right?
Yes.
Okay, I will address it in the meantime. I hope we could do it. Anything else?
Hello? Yes, are we going to receive the amended proofs before publication?
Of course.
Thanks.
Okay, I will sum it like this. I will go over all the comments you added. I will make one document with all the important comments that we have together. I will send it to you later today, I think towards evening time. And then if you have anything that you want to change in it, add or remove, please notice me until tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning I will send all our comments together to the Guardian. I just want to clear again. It's not our expertise to make, at least not our Maria, and I'm sorry that I'm talking about us in Union. We're not a journalist. We don't have to do, or we don't have the expertise how to address the public and to engage debate. We have to keep it accurate and as clear as we can. So I will address and make one document, send it to the Guardian tomorrow. They help, and that's their promise, to send us back the amended PDFs within a day, hopefully, so we can have the time until Monday or Tuesday morning to send the last comments. Yes, Lisa.
Yes, about the feature that is in page 4 with the nanofactory piece. Can we agree, because I don't know what we can suggest here. I assume we can't suggest them to rewrite the whole thing, which is what I would like. But I understand that probably this is not possible. So can we agree on what to say about this piece and what to do about it? I had in some comments I had in the document, I was suggesting to shift the focus from the nanofactory concept to a more general molecular nanotechnology field where scientists are trying to replicate molecular motors or other very smart molecular systems that we have in our body and which can perform a lot of different tasks and be really little machines, if you want, within our body, although I wouldn't recommend the use of the term nanomachine. So can we just discuss brief? I don't know if what Mark thinks, if it would be okay to keep it. Like, I would even change the welcome to the top quality nanofactory title. I don't know how he feels about that. If
I think,
and of course Nir as well.
yes, I think that's the real issue, is that even though in the article it says that these molecular factories are still a good many years away, it gives the impression that they're very close, by talking about them, whereas really what it is about understanding how we can put molecular building blocks together. So the work with DNA is very interesting, and using DNA in a variety of different ways because it can self-assemble into different structures. And maybe talking about some of the other things, some of the things that I mentioned. Again, that would require rewriting the article, but things like dip pen nanolithography would be interesting, and it would really be grounding it in what is happening here and now, that we are able to manipulate atoms. We are able to put things together, but what we can't do is actually create devices, create components within devices. What we're doing is very small scale, and it's much more in terms of sensors and diagnostics, for example. So a lot of biosensor technologies are using these sorts of tools and techniques. And I think just this continual use of nanomachines and human-made nanomachines and things like that just detract from that and make it much more futuristic. But that's generally my feel, and the picture doesn't do anything to dissuade me from that. But I'm with Louisa. I don't know how much can be done to change that. It's certainly controversial, and maybe that is a way to portray it as the controversiality of it. But to try and put it into a real context, that this is, the Foresight Institute, the Institute for Molecular Manufacturing, are initiatives that have been set up by people that have got visions of this is what's going to happen in the future, but they've really not got an idea of how we're going to get there and when we're going to get there.
Louisa, Mira, and Mark, can you try to phrase some kind of suggestion how to correct the article?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, actually, Neely. I had written something in a comment, but I think we can extrapolate that, and with what Mark said, maybe we can come up with a paragraph suggesting how. I think first of all the shift in focus, and then a couple of topics that could be discussed. For instance, just I think a couple of weeks ago, there was a publication in Nature on a nanomotor, and of course this is extremely small. It's nothing to do with a real motor, but it was the first time it was really demonstrated the possibility of having movement in a nanomotor. So it's they are really interesting publications, and actually much better images that could be used. So maybe this is what we can do, if Mark and Eva agree.
Yep, sounds like a good idea.
Mark, I found difficult to hear you. Can you say it again, please?
Yeah, just agreeing. I was agreeing with Louise.
Okay. Mira, I see you agree. Do you need the time here to discuss it, or is it enough that Louisa would write a paragraph and then circulate it between yourself and then send it to me? Okay,
yeah,
great.
that's fine. Yeah, I can
Great.
do that.
So I'm waiting for the paragraph from you in order to understand how they can amend it. Maria, you wanted to add something?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, I just wanted to take the opportunity to ask Mark for his opinion on a technicality. I refer to paragraph 3 in Alok's piece. I know it's always very difficult to change a quote by someone, by an interviewee, but we've got this, Keith Dingwall says that typically technologies are between 10 and 100 nanometers. Would you say, recent regulations said between 1 and 100 nanometers. Would you leave it as it is, because it probably refers to applications and to the most common typical practice, if I understand correctly?
I think with this, if we're going to be specific, we would have to change it to anything between 1 and several hundred nanometers, because there's not a really precise cutoff either at the bottom end or the top end. And when we talk about 1 to 100 nanometers, the latest definition from the EU is vague on what exactly is a nanomaterial. It can be anything up to 50% of the components being a nanoscale material. So I think it's quite difficult to say. I mean, generally speaking, in the past people have used 1 to 100 nanometers. Now, I don't know whether Keith has been misquoted here.
All right.
But
would you change it?
Well, I would probably just say less than 100 nanometers would be good, generally speaking.
Right. Okay.
However, it's not a scientific piece, so you don't want to get too embedded in definitions and cut-off points, because people will then start saying, well, what about, does that mean at 101 nanometers that it's no longer nanotechnology and it's something else? What's the property of a material less than 100 nanometers is not actually different from, the bulk material. So there's, as we all know, it's quite a grey area, and really it's going to depend on the individual material and the context that individual material is in.
Sure, but I agree with you. I think putting, changing that quote to less than 100 nanometers is a safe bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else, Maria, you wanted to add?
Not really. I've just, you'll see there are quite a few details here and there which I've put into my comments. I don't think there is, I wouldn't want to linger too much on them, but I would be grateful if they could be incorporated into your remarks.
Okay, so I'm waiting for your paragraph, Mark, Suiza, and Mira. I will incorporate all the comments of all the members into one piece and send it back to you this evening. If you can comment until tomorrow morning, then I can send it to the Guardian tomorrow morning. Anything before we adjourn? Okay, thank you, friends, for your time and your effort. We will be in touch this evening and tomorrow morning. Thank you.